Morgan has requested me on Patreon to review Quiz Show, a drama about the game show scandal of the 1950s. Directed by Robert Redford, this is a great movie that explores not only the subject matter in a fun way, but also digs into the characters and the choices they make. It's basically a Faustian tale about whether people are willing to give up their honesty and dignity for a chance at wealth and the limelight. It's part show business story and part investigative drama, and Redford did a really good job directing it. Part of what makes Quiz Show work so well is it does not necessarily have traditional heroes and villains. The two central figures in the story, Charles Van Doren and Herb Stempel, could have been written as simply defined heroic figures going up against the sleazy game show producers, but they're more complex and three-dimensional than that. Stempel initially seems like the person we're meant to have some sympathy for, especially when he's told to give the wrong answer to an easy question, but he certainly has his flaws too, and is not quite as innocent as he perceives himself as. Van Doren has a fascinating arc of his own. He's shown to be an intelligent professor who would probably do great on the game show 21 regardless, and would not need to be coached with the answers. However, he still takes the bait, and throughout the film he both lies about being given the answers, and has some level of guilt over agreeing to do it. He's a morally complex person, constantly wrestling with his choice, while still loving the adoration and fame given to him. Even the producers are not written in a one-dimensional manner. The filmmakers and actors could have portrayed Dan Enright and Albert Friedman as standard villains up to no good. And while what they're doing is obviously wrong, they just see themselves as merely putting on entertaining television and trying to keep viewers interested in tuning in. David Paymer and Hank Azaria go for naturalistic performances rather than an over-the-top approach. Same with Martin Scorsese in his small role as the head of the pharmaceutical company sponsoring 21, who explains his views on the show rigging in a calm manner. The movie never holds our hand and tells us who to root for in the story, with the closest thing to a person with some semblance of moral conscience intact being Richard N. Goodwin, who played a major role in investigating the game shows. The film does a great job of transitioning from the showbiz story to the investigative drama. Redford manages to make Goodwin probing everyone he can find into something genuinely thrilling, as we see his difficulty of locating anyone willing to speak, and even has his own doubts about how truthful Stempel is being about his time on the show. Rob Moreau portrays the various aspects of Goodwin exceptionally well. The standout of the cast is John Turturro as Herb Stempel. He portrays his desperation as things keep going from bad to worse, and his disappointment at what producers did to him, as well as his jealousy at Van Doren. Ray Fiennes is also great as Van Doren, as he copes with the decisions he makes and tries almost to reason with it. An interesting choice is having Van Doren and Stempel share a little screen time with each other. The filmmakers could have easily written scenes where they angrily confront each other and portray them as mortal enemies. However, they restrain themselves from creating that unnecessary drama. Instead, we see how the both of them create an image of the other in their minds based on their own view of the scandal and how they currently benefit from it. Van Doren barely even thinks about his 21 predecessor, as opposed to Stempel being constantly annoyed by his presence on magazine covers. Then you have Paul Scofield as Mark Van Doren, Charles' father, who successfully shows his multiple layers, with the admiration he has for his son, his confusion at the popularity of game shows, and then his eventual disappointment when he learns more about what went on behind the scenes. And I have to mention Christopher McDonald, who depicts host Jack Barry with that energy we associate with game show presenters, while having some subtle elements to his performance too. Quiz Show is just an exceptionally well-cast movie. The film also tasked how entertainment like television shows get so much out of creating suspense for the audience. It's all about manipulating the viewers into having that rush of excitement, in this case using the contestants' prior knowledge of the questions or playing around with the air conditioning in their boxes. They are narrative tools used to keep the viewers from changing the channel, not too dissimilar to what a detective show or police procedural might do. Even this movie creates tension out of simple scenarios, like wondering if Stempel will purposely get the question wrong or ignore the producers and say the right answer. Redford keeps the scene playing as long as he possibly can, not unlike the producers of 21 deciding when it's the right time for the show to bring in a new champion. Overall, Quiz Show makes for a highly entertaining look into the scandal that rocked television audiences in a major way in the 1950s, and led to a distrust in game shows for several years, with Jeopardy apparently being the show that finally brought viewers back. The entire scandal is genuinely fascinating, and Robert Redford and screenwriter Paul Attanasio did a great job at dramatizing the story. If you've seen Quiz Show, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for the request, Morgan.